First in the spotlight tonight is Ken Morland, an energy analyst from Brechin. His specialist subject, the sitcom Red Dwarf. Andy Davies is a social worker from Cheshire. He's answering questions on St. Helena, Ascension Island and Tristan da Cunha. Sarah Jane Bodell is a web developer from Coventry. Her subject is the state of Kentucky. And Neil Wright is a retired scientist from the Wirral, and he's answering questions on the Roman Emperor Tiberius. And welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. Tonight is the last of 24 heats, and next week we shall be into the semi-finals. That's the target, of course, for each of our 4 contenders, and all they have to do to get there is beat the other 3. Simple. The tough bit is the pressure that comes from being in the spotlight and knowing that the clock is ticking away. 2 minutes on their specialist subject, 2.5 on general knowledge. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
Ken Morland.
Your occupation?
Energy analyst.
And your chosen subject?
The sitcom Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf in 2 minutes, starting now. What is the title of the first episode broadcast in 1988, in which a radiation leak wipes out the entire crew of Red Dwarf apart from Dave Lister?
The End.
Yes. In Dimension Jump, Arnold Rimmer meets an alternative version of himself. He's a dashing test pilot for the Space Corps and uses the catchphrase, "Smoke me a kipper, I'll be..."
Back for breakfast.
Yes. In his first episode, Crichton tells Lister that he looks forward to watching a soap opera produced by Groovy Channel 27. What's it called?
Androids.
Yep. Who plays the cat, a life form that evolved from Lister's pet, Frankenstein?
Danny John Jules.
Yep. After Lister loses Rimmer and Starbug to the biologically engineered garbage gobblers in a poker game, he offers to exchange them for a piece of cutlery. What name does he give to it?
The Spoon of Destiny.
Yes. Rimmer claims to have a BSc, though rather than Bachelor of Science. What do the letters actually stand for?
Bronze Swimming Certificate.
Yes. In Future Echoes, Lister thinks he is about to die and complains there's loads of things I've never done. I've never had a prawn vindaloo. I've never read...
A book.
Yes. In the first 2 series, Norman Lovett played Red Dwarf's computer Holly. Which actress took over the role in Series 3?
Hattie Hayridge.
Correct. In Give and Take, Rimmer and Crichton think they've rescued a sophisticated medical droid called Asclepius. What is the name of the vending machine they've actually rescued?
Snacky.
Yes. In Confidence and Paranoia, Holly claims he has just finished reading everything that has ever been written anywhere, and that the worst book ever was written by which footballer?
Kevin Keegan.
Yes. What name does Rimmer give to the glove puppet that he starts talking to after he catches a holovirus?
Mr. Flibble.
Yep. Which character is played by Claire Grogan in the original series and by Chloe Annett from Series 7?
Christine Kuchansky.
Yes. What is the name of the Gestalt entity that regains existence by combining the minds and personalities of the 4 main characters?
Legion.
Yes. What is the slogan on the T-shirt that Rimmer is wearing after all of his anger has been removed by the polymorph, a mutant life form that feeds on negative emotions?
Give Quiche a chance.
Yes, absolutely. 14 questions, Ken, 14 points. Well done. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Andy Davies.
Your occupation?
Social worker.
And your chosen subject?
The British Overseas Territory of St. Helena, Ascension Island and Tristan da Cunha.
In 2 minutes, starting now, what was the nationality of the 16th century navigator Tristan da Cunha, after whom the island is named?
Portuguese.
Yes. Napoleon was exiled on St. Helena. What is the name of the small house where he spent the first months of his exile before he was moved to Longwood House, where he remained until his death in 1821?
Pass.
Ascension is one of the main Atlantic breeding grounds of which turtle they're now protected by law?
Green turtle.
Yes. Tristan's main settlement was named Edinburgh of the Seven Seas after a visit in 1867 by the Duke of Edinburgh. What was his name?
Prince Alfred.
Yes. 2 ships brought the garrison to Ascension that occupied the island in 1815. One was the Peruvian. What was the other?
Hempstead.
Zenobia. Which trading company was given a charter to govern St. Helena in the 1650s? The first governor arrived in 1659.
The East India Company.
Yes. What is the more common name of the wide-awake tern, which nests in great numbers on an area of Ascension known as wide-awake fares?
The Sooty tern.
Yes. Which island in the Tristan da Cunha archipelago was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site together with Inaccessible Island in 1995?
Gough.
Yes. Diana's Peak and Mount Actaeon are two of the three main peaks in St. Helena's Peaks National Park. What is the name of the third?
Pass.
Which company laid the first telegraph cable to Ascension at the turn of the 20th century and handled the affairs of the island until 1964?
Marconi.
Cable and Wireless. What is the name of the giant tortoise that lives on the governor of St. Helena's lawn? At over 180 years old, he's thought to be the world's oldest living land animal.
Gerald.
Jonathan, which neighbouring island did the Tristanians move to in the immediate aftermath of a volcanic eruption in October 1961?
Nightingale.
Yes. What name was given to the series of raids launched from RAF Ascension on Argentinian targets in the Falkland Islands during the Falklands War?
Operation Black Book.
Correct. Which country's forces claimed St. Helena in 1633 and briefly occupied the island again in 1673 till it was retaken by the British?
The Dutch.
Yes. What is the name of the artist and naturalist who was marooned on Tristan for several months in 1824? He made a number of paintings of contemporary island life.
Have to pass.
I'll give it to you then, because we're out of time. Augustus Earl. Yep, you knew it.
Yep.
And the other two you probably knew as well. Diana's Peak, Mount Actaeon and Cuckold's Point. That's the third. And the Briars was where Napoleon spent his first days in exile. Andy, you have scored 9 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Sarah Jane Bodell.
Your occupation?
Web developer.
And your chosen subject?
History of Kentucky, 1792 to present.
Kentucky in 2 minutes, starting now. Kentucky became the 15th state of the Union on the 1st of June, 1792. From which existing state did it separate?
Virginia.
Yep. What is the name of the businessman who opened a place to eat at the back of his service station in Corbin that grew into one of the world's largest fast food chains?
Sanders.
Yes. Who was a leading campaigner for equal rights for women in Kentucky alongside Laura Clay? She died shortly after women voted for the first time in Kentucky in November 1920.
Breckinridge.
Yep. What is the name of the pass through the Appalachian Mountains that provided the major route from the east for settlers in Kentucky in the 18th century?
Cumberland Gap.
Yep. Which town in Nelson County is the home of the Oscar Getz Museum of Whiskey History and holds an annual Kentucky Bourbon Festival?
Bardstown.
Yep. What is the name of the musician who was born near Rosine, Kentucky and is credited with the creation of the bluegrass style of music?
Monroe.
Yep. Which river that flows through Louisville flooded in January 1937 and submerged large parts of Kentucky?
Ohio.
Yes. What is the name of the pioneer in the settlement of Kentucky whose remains were transferred to Frankfort Cemetery in 1845, 25 years after his death?
Boone.
Yes. Which city in Warren County was made the capital of the Confederate state of Kentucky in 1861 by opponents of the state's decision to remain in the Union during the Civil War?
Bowling Green.
Yep. Who became the fourth Kentuckian to be the American vice president when he served under Harry S. Truman?
Barclay.
Yep. Kentucky gained 2,000 square miles of land in 1818 in the Jackson Purchase. From which Native American people was the land bought?
Chickasaw.
Yes. What was the name of the grandson of a famous explorer who established the racecourse where the Kentucky Derby has been run since 1875?
Lewis.
Meriwether Lewis Clark. Which Republican senator from Kentucky became the majority leader in the Senate in 2015? He was regarded as one of Barack Obama's most fervent opponents.
McConnell.
Yeah. Kentucky witnessed many feuds between rival families after the Civil War. One of the most famous was between the Hatfields and which family?
McCoy's.
McCoy's is correct. Sarah, no passes. You have scored 13 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Neil Wright.
Your occupation?
Retired biomedical scientist.
And your chosen subject?
The Roman Emperor Tiberius.
Tiberius, in 2 minutes, here we go. Tiberius was born a member of which patrician family through both his father and his mother Livia?
The Claudia.
Yes. In 29 BC, Tiberius took part in the triumph of his stepfather Octavian, later the Emperor Augustus. The triumph celebrated his victory over Antony and Cleopatra at which battle of 31 BC?
Actium.
Yep. At the age of 15, Tiberius accompanied Augustus as a military tribune when he took action in northern Spain against which tribe?
Cantabrian?
Yes. What was the name of the prefect of the Praetorian Guard whom Tiberius called the partner in my labours? He rose to a position of great power under Tiberius.
Sejanus.
Yes. What nickname was given to Tiberius because he rarely left Rome, even though he often made preparations to leave?
Callipides.
Yes. On which island did Tiberius live as a private citizen for several years after he withdrew from public life in 6 BC?
Rhodes.
Yes. What was the name of the Numidian rebel leader in Africa who had previously served in the Roman army? He sent envoys to Tiberius demanding land in return for peace.
Taciferinus.
Yes. Which member of his family did Tiberius send to deal with an uprising amongst the legions in Pannonia shortly after his accession in 14 AD?
His son Drusus.
Yes. In which town were thousands of spectators killed or injured in 27 AD when an amphitheatre collapsed? It was said that so many people were there because Tiberius was reluctant to provide games in Rome.
Pass.
Who was Tiberius's first wife? He was forced to divorce her because Augustus wanted him to marry his daughter, Julia.
Vipsania.
Yes. What title that means father of his country did Tiberius refuse on many occasions?
Pass.
To which island did Tiberius exile Germanicus's widow, Agrippina, in 29 AD? She later starved to death there.
Pandateria.
Yes. Who was executed on the 1st of January 28 AD after people hidden in the roof space of his house had heard him speaking against Tiberius and Sejanus?
Pass.
Well, I can tell you because we're out of time. It was Sabinus. Or Sabinus. You had 2 other passes. The title that means father of his country that Tiberius refused was Pater Patriae, and the town where thousands of spectators were killed was Fidenae. You have scored, Neil, 10 points. Well, it's pretty close. Let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place, 9 points, Andy. 3rd place, 10 points, Neil. 2nd place, 13 points, Sarah Jane. 1st place, 14 points, Ken. And it is, of course, the general knowledge round now, and if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let us get on with it and ask Andy to join us again, please. And you start out, Andy, with 9 points. And we have 2.5 minutes, of course, for the general knowledge round. So loads of time to catch up. Here we go. Jesus was born in which town near Jerusalem, according to the Gospels of Matthew and Luke?
Nazareth.
Bethlehem. Which singer and activist was awarded a knighthood in 1986 but cannot use the title Sir because he's not a Commonwealth citizen?
Bob Geldof.
Yes. What was the name of the 4 British kings who reigned from the death of Queen Anne in 1714 to William IV's succession to the throne in 1830?
James.
George. Which type of headache derives its name from the Greek hemicrania, meaning half skull, because only one side of the head is usually affected?
Migraine.
Yes. Whose version of When a Child is Born gave him the 1976 Christmas #1?
Johnny Mathis.
Yes. Which alpine flower has a German name meaning noble white? Its name is in a song by Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Edelweiss.
Yes. Which Lancashire town, now a city, was given the right to have a guild merchant by Henry II in 1179 and has celebrated the award almost every 20 years since 1542?
Preston.
Yes. In which country is Puccini's opera Madame Butterfly set?
Japan.
Yes. Getafe, Leganés and Rayo Vallecano are 3 small football clubs whose home grounds are in or near which capital city?
Madrid.
Yes. In which traditional English county were the sculptors Henry Moore and Dame Barbara Hepworth born?
Yorkshire.
Yes. What liqueur was developed in a French monastery using a formula from 1737 and comes in the green and the sweeter yellow varieties?
Crème de Menthe.
No, Chartreuse. The Inn, Drava, Sava and Prut are among the major tributaries of which river?
Tiber.
Danube. Which television soap opera set in California was a spin-off from Dallas?
Knots Landing.
Yes. What word for a person inclined to question accepted wisdom or opinion comes from the Greek for doubt or reflection?
Pass.
In George Orwell's novel 1984, Winston Smith is told the thing that is in room 101 is the worst thing in the world. What is it that Smith has a particular fear of and finds there?
Pass.
Which famous poem is prefaced with the dedication memorialising events in the Battle of Balaclava, October the 25th, 1854?
Charge of the Light Brigade.
Yes. What was the two-word name of the official campaign in favour of Brexit in the 2016 EU referendum?
Pass.
Which film director was knighted by the Queen in 1984, the year his last film was released?
David Lean.
Yes. The central keep that forms the oldest part of the Tower of London is usually known by what name?
Pass.
The conflict between the Normans and the Saxons during the reign of Richard I forms the background to which novel by Sir Walter Scott?
Ivanhoe.
Is correct. You had 4 passes. The central keep is otherwise known as the White Tower. Vote leave. That was the two-word name of the official campaign. Winston Smith had a terrible fear of rats in room 101, and the word for a person who's inclined to question accepted wisdom, etc., a sceptic. You have a total now, Andy, of 21 points.
Thanks. Thank you.
And now Neil again, please. And Neil, you start out with 10 points, and the score to beat is, as we speak, 21. Here we go with your general knowledge. Which character was played in 9 horror films by Christopher Lee between 1958 and 1976?
Dracula.
Yes. Which Buckinghamshire town gives its name to a standard breed of duck traditionally reared for the table?
Aylesbury.
Yes. In Dad's Army, whose mother carries on a secret affair with Sergeant Wilson, whom he calls Uncle Arthur?
Pike.
Yes. What is the common name for the family of plants to which many crop and garden plants, such as the potato and aubergine, belong, as well as a number of highly poisonous plants?
Solanum.
Nightshade. Which American football team based in Foxborough, Massachusetts, beat the Atlanta Falcons to win Super Bowl 51 in February 2017?
Green Bay Packers.
New England Patriots. What word is used for the process by which a child or young animal begins to take solids and other foods instead of its mother's milk?
Weaning.
Yes. Which of South Africa's 3 capitals is named after its Boer statesman founder and was the capital of the former province of Transvaal?
Bloemfontein.
Pretoria. Who was the controversial director of the FBI from 1924 till his death in May 1972? He turned it into a highly effective arm of federal law enforcement.
Hoover.
Yes. Which place is known as Scotland's Granite City?
Aberdeen.
Yep. What was the name of the television and radio comedian whose famous alter ego lived at railway cuttings East Cheam?
Hancock.
Yes. Songs composed by which actor and playwright include Mad About the Boy and Mad Dog's an Englishman?
Noel Coward.
Yes. Which Italian-born screen legend won a Best Actress Oscar for 2 Women in 1962?
Sophia Loren.
Yes. What price is shown on the hat worn by the Mad Hatter in Tennille's illustrations for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland?
Pass.
What name is given to the process of coating a metal, usually iron or steel, with zinc to protect it against corrosion?
Galvanizing.
Yes. Jacopo Bellini and his sons Gentile and Giovanni founded a northern Italian city school of Renaissance painting during the early 15th century. Which city?
Venice.
Yes. Jeudi and Donnerstag are the French and German names for which day of the week?
Thursday.
Yes. Yehudi Menuhin was celebrated for playing which musical instrument?
Violin.
Yes. What is the cruelest month, according to the opening line of T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land?
April.
Yes. In ancient Egyptian religion, Hathor was the goddess of women and fertility. She was often represented in the form of, or with the head of, which animal?
A cow.
Yes. Which broadcaster and former Labour MP for Great Grimsby temporarily changed his name to Austin Haddock in 2002 in an attempt to boost the town's struggling fishing industry?
Austin Mitchell.
It was indeed. Who else? And you had 1 pass. That was the price shown on the Mad Hatter's hat. It was 10 shillings and 6pence. Not a penny more. Neil, 26 points. And now Sarah Jane again, please. And you set out with 13 points. 26 is now the score to beat. Let's go. In English history, who was known as Gloriana and the Virgin Queen?
Elizabeth.
Yes, the prickly pear is the edible fruit of a member of which plant family?
Cactus.
Yes, what is the name of the heritage railway in Sussex that started out in 1959 as the Lewis and East Grinstead Railway Preservation Society?
Southern Railway.
The Bluebell Line, whose beloved cat, Docket, has featured in many of her works of art?
O'Neill.
Tracy Emin, who won the 2004 Best Supporting Actress Oscar for Cold Mountain. She plays Ruby Thews, who helps Nicole Kidman's character, Ada Munro, adapt to farm life.
Zellweger.
Yes, which Czech composer's Ninth Symphony is entitled From the New World?
Dvorak.
Dvorak, yes. The Black Velvet Gown, published in 1984, and The Black Candle, published in 1989, are novels by which prolific best-selling writer?
Smith.
Cookson, Catherine Cookson. What is the name of the family dynasty that first came to power in North Korea in 1948?
Kim.
Yes. The stew made with black beans and various cuts of pork, called feijoada, is a traditional dish in which South American country?
Brazil.
Yes. Ethel Kane was the original voice of a service brought into operation by the GPO in July 1936. What service?
Shipping forecast.
No, the speaking clock. Which German state was abolished in 1947 by the Allied Control Council because of its associations with German militarism?
Nordrhein.
No, Prussia. Sam Neill plays Lord Carnarvon and Max Irons plays Howard Carter in which 2016 television drama series?
Tutankhamun.
Yes. What items of remembrance are made in the factory founded by Major George Howson in 1922 that was originally on the Old Kent Road and staffed with 5 disabled ex-servicemen?
Poppies.
Yes. What name for the skull cap worn by some Catholic clergy comes from the diminutive of the Italian for gourd? Its colour depends on the post held by the wearer.
Triton.
Zucchetto. The British swimmer Alison Streeter has swum across which stretch of water more than 40 times?
The Channel.
Yeah. What property of the human body is measured with a sphygmomanometer?
Blood pressure.
Yes. The name of which boy band was chosen by the founding member, Tom Fletcher, because of his love for the film Back to the Future?
McFly.
Yes. Whose poem, If, was first published in a collection of his short stories and poems entitled Rewards and Fairies in 1910?
Kipling.
Kipling is correct. No passes, Sarah Jane. You have 25 points. And finally, Ken again, please. And Ken, you start out with 14 points, 26. Still the score to beat. Let's see if you can do it and go through to the semi-finals. Here we go. What is the name of Dick Dastardly's dog in the television cartoon series Wacky Races?
Motley.
Yes. In Italy, what is sold in a shop called a gelateria?
Ice cream.
Yes. What name for a marsupial similar to, but generally smaller than a kangaroo, comes from an Australian Aboriginal language?
Wallaby.
Yes. Who plays the title character Christian Wolf, a financial consultant who works for some of the world's most dangerous criminal organisations in the 2016 film The Accountant?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Ben Affleck. What is the English name for the stretch of water that the Spanish call the Golfo de Vizcaya and the French call the Golfe de Gascogne?
Bay of Biscay.
Yes. Which Midland city is home to the Museum of the Jewellery Quarter? It is based in the former factory of the firm Smith and Pepper.
Birmingham.
Yep. Which controversial dramatist wrote letters to the press under the alias of Edna Wellthorpe, a guardian of public morals?
Pass.
The Cuban José Raúl Capablanca and the Dutchman Max Euwe have been world champions of which board game?
Chess.
Yes. What currency was used in modern Greece before it adopted the euro and was the oldest in Europe, dating back some 2,600 years?
Drachma.
Yes. Which branch of mathematics deals specifically with the relations between the angles and lengths of sides of triangles?
Trigonometry.
Correct. Which Stretford-born artist worked full-time for the Pall Mall Property Company alongside his art career?
Pass.
Water Music and Music for the Royal Fireworks are among the best-known orchestral works by a German-born composer. Who was he?
Handel.
Yes. Who was the leader of the opposition in the House of Commons from 1975 till 79?
James Callahan.
Margaret Thatcher. In which 1980s television series were the two main characters a pair of undercover policemen played by Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas?
Miami Vice.
Yes, what general term applied principally to African-American music was popularised by Jerry Wexler of Billboard magazine in 1949 as a replacement for the phrase race records?
R&B.
Yes, rhythm and blues. Who wrote the 1908 children's novel The Wind in the Willows?
Kenneth Graham.
Correct. What adjective that describes a place or condition where everything is as bad as possible comes from the Greek for bad place?
Pass.
Which French king reigned for 72 years from 1643 to 1715, one of the longest reigns of any monarch?
Louis XIV.
Yes. Who set a women's world record of 2 hours, 15 minutes and 25 seconds in the 2003 London Marathon when she finished some 2.5 minutes faster than the first British man, Chris Carris?
Paul Radcliffe.
Is correct. You had 3 passes. Dystopian is that we are... Yes, you knew it, didn't you? You also knew L.S. Lowry, I dare say, the artist, yeah. And you probably also knew that controversial dramatist who wrote letters to the press under the alias of Edna Wellthorpe, Joe Orton. You have scored a total, Ken, of 28 points. So he made it. Let's have a look at all of the scores. In 4th place with 21 points, Andy. 3rd place, 25 points, Sarah Jane. 2nd place, 26 points, Neil. 1st place, 28 points, Ken. Which means, of course, that Ken is tonight's winner, and he takes the last place in the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. Commiserations to Sarah Jane and Neil. It is just possible that with their scores we shall see them again in the semi-final. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us on Twitter @mastermindquiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.